The Embroidered Sunset by Joan Aiken. 11. "Brr!" exclaimed Adnan. "These Yorkshire fogs. A hot tot of eggnog, dearest Miss Lucy, prepared by your skilful hand, would be most acceptable." Lucy had been too busy all morning to take account of the weather. Now, glancing past him through the glass-paned front door, she saw that thick, slow-moving coils of fog completely shrouded the park from view. "But what is the matter, dear girl? You seem upset, agitated. The pulse and breathing are accelerated, cheeks flushed. The expression is discomposed. Pray, tell me what is troubling you. Are you having difficulties in Mrs. Marsham's absence?"
No, I mean, it's not the patients. Old Miss Copple isn't any worse." She led him upstairs.
"No," he agreed when he had inspected Miss Copple. "She is on the mend. It is not another case of measles, merely a feverish cold. We need not apprehend another Crabtree episode, though. I must reiterate, dear Lucy, that your notions about misuse of measles serum are utterly unfounded. Try not to catch this cold, though. You are not as strong as you like to pretend. Now tell me, what has disturbed you?"
"Oh," said Lucy, reluctantly leading the way to the kitchen, as he seemed bent on eggnog. "It's too trivial. I had slight words with my aunt, that's all. It was entirely my fault, too."
"Tell Papa Mustafa all about it."
Quite without intending to, she found, as she beat up the eggnog, that she was doing just that.
"Ah, yes," he sympathized. Very undermining, I quite agree. Very demoralizing to find that the father whose image you have set up on high all this time is in fact no better than the detested uncle. A most disagreeable shock."
"And the worst of it," said Lucy, sipping her own eggnog and not looking at Adnan, "that I remembered something else too. It's queer. I remembered it a couple of days ago, but I wouldn't let myself remember it completely. It was a memory of a picnic with my father, and it was a goodbye picnic because he was going right away afterwards, catching a train that would take him to a boat. After we'd said goodbye to him, my mother picked me up and held me desperately tight. I can remember her saying, I don't know if it was to me or to somebody else, 'The truth is, Paul doesn't want us. He's only too glad to get away.' It's queer, I'd forgotten that."
"Why so? One does make haste to forget such episodes."
"No, but I'd remembered it once before, at a time when I was living with my uncle, and overheard him saying he wished they could find somewhere else for me to live because I didn't fit in with them. I remembered then and forgot again afterwards. Isn't it amazing how dishonest one can be with oneself?"
"On the contrary, dear Lucy Snow, it strikes me that you are a singularly honest and particularly nice girl. In fact," said Adnan, glancing round to make sure he was unobserved, and then rapidly kneeling down on the red and black quarry tiles, showing for once a remarkable lack of care for his mustard cavalry cords. "In fact, dear Lucy, I shall be very pleased if you will do me the honor to make one of the 4 wives allowed to me by the Koran, though, alas, frowned on by the Turkish legal system. More I cannot say."
More Lucy could not say either. She stared at him dumbfounded.
"You are taken aback," he said, getting up
as briskly as he had knelt, but not letting go of her hand.
"Alas, you still hanker after this Benedict, a most romantic, unpractical aspiration, I do assure you, dear Lucy. Now please, I urge you, take time to consider my proposal carefully. Take as long as you wish. I should so much enjoy escorting you back to Turkey. I am supposed to return at the end of this year, and to tell you the truth, I do not in the least wish to go. But if I could carry you with me, so cool and sensible, like my very own leaf from the pages of a 19th century English literature, how lucky, how very lucky I should feel. I do not speak. I can see that what you said would not be the purpose. Not to my purpose, at any rate. Think it over, and I tell you what," he added magnanimously, "if you really feel you must go and sit at the feet of this Benedict, very well. Do that first, and then come to Turkey. I shall keep one of the 4 corners of my house prepared for you with 'Welcome, Lucy' on the mat." He gave her his wide, flashing Mr. Jackson smile, and Lucy felt absurdly moved. She was trying to marshal her voice to thank him when they heard the telephone ring. Fiona came through from the front hall. "It's for you, Dr. Adnan, your housekeeper, in Mrs. Marsham's office."
Presently Adnan reappeared, looking decidedly put out.
Really, he said, looking crossly to Lucy, it's a good thing I had proposed to you before that telephone call. Apparently, two men, one of them doubtless your uncle, took advantage of the thick fog in Kirby to break into my house and remove all your aunt's paintings. Paintings which I was proposing to make over to you as a bride gift. Now what an embarrassing predicament I shall be in, obliged to take legal proceedings against my future uncle-in-law. However, I absolve you of any part in the blame. Goodbye for the present. Think carefully over what I have said. He marched out, leaving Lucy and Fiona regarding one another blankly.
Well, Fiona said at length, I told you he'd invite you to join his harem, didn't I? I was right, wasn't I? What are we giving the old trout for lunch? Beef stew? Better get on with it. Morning's half gone already. Sorry, said Lucy. Such a lot's been happening. Pass that knife. I'll do the onions. Fiona gave her a penetrating look. Have you got one of your heads coming on? You look like it. No, lied Lucy. I'm just a bit worried about those pictures. It seems so odd. There was a tap at the kitchen window. To their surprise, they saw Adnan again. He beckoned vigorously to Lucy, who went out to the back door and round. This is a pretty thing to find, he said. He was pointing to something pale ginger in color that lay at the base of the rhododendron shrubs beyond the gravel sweep. With astonishment and revulsion, Lucy, going nearer, saw that it was baby brother, the marmalade cat, lying dead, spitted clean through by a long arrow. A nice thing for one of the old people to discover, Adnan repeated disgustedly. With his foot he edged the body of baby brother out of sight under the bush. But good heavens, said Lucy in horror. Never mind about discovering it. One of them must have done it. How frightful. Everyone here disliked the cat, but I didn't realize any of the old things was as paranoid as that. Lord knows what Mrs. Marshall will say when she gets back. She absolutely doted on the beast. Lucy, said Adnan earnestly, this Wildfell Hall really is not a good place for you, or for your aunt. I do not like this occurrence at all. I do not like it following on the accident to Mrs. Marsham's son. For heaven's sake, what's it got to do with that? The police do not think that it was an accident. The truck driver has never come forward. The circumstances were odd. Now look, will you oblige me in this? When Mrs. Marsham returns, take your aunt, take that stalwart Fiona Fraser, and migrate to the aunt's cottage, where you will be peaceful and undisturbed. Will you do that? And leave Mrs. Marsham without help? I'll send up a nurse to look after them. There's no furniture in the cottage, Lucy said tiredly. He swore. Allah give me patience. I'll send a van load first thing tomorrow. Then will you? I'll think about it. I really will. Now I must go in. There's a terrible lot to do. I must say, said Adnan gloomily, fate has not looked kindly on the moment I chose to offer you my heart. He kissed Lucy's hand, climbed into the Alpha, and drove away, going much more slowly than usual. A heavy shower of drops fell on Lucy from the trees above. The fog was condensing and turning to rain. She went in and helped Fiona with the stew. And we'll pause there.